Hello everybody. So I've been thinking a while and I'm still not 100% sure how good this video is going to turn out. But part of keeping guppies is keeping guppies healthy, and one of the things you're always going to deal with when you have tanks and tanks of guppies is parasites, and mainly internal parasites. Stuff like that are always going to affect the health of the fish. Whenever I've had problems with guppies, health-wise, it has always stemmed from internal parasites. And what happens is that the parasites, well, now I'm more experienced, the parasites, you don't think there's a problem. All you see is some weird looking poops every once in a while. No one looks skinny, no one looks thin. Everyone's still having babies. And what'll end up happening is eventually, by the time you start seeing and noticing problems, then it's too late. You start getting sick and skinny fish, then they get compromised because the parasites have weakened them to the point that they cannot, then they succumb to secondary infections like, can't even think of some of the names of them now, but the saddleback disease, I can't even think of the name of it. I was fighting all that. So I had a heck of a problem with parasites, and I've tried Levamisole before, but this is what this video is about. How to dose Levamisole, because I got all these new guppies. I did everything you're supposed to do. I treated them. I was using Prazi Pro, which is my go-to. I gave them 2 full rounds of that when I first got them. 2 full rounds of antibiotics when I first got them. And so everyone has been completely super healthy. Then I've been seeing some stringy poops in some of these guppies, especially the koi, the king koi guppies I've got. I've seen some worrying signs there. And then when you give them this Levamisole treatment, or even the Prazi Pro treatment that makes them poop, after you give them the dosage, you give them a nice big feeding, and then they will poop it out. And you get all kinds of weird looking poops. But I've already given, they are in the middle of their 2nd dose right now. But anyway, what happens after the guppies succumb to that, but luckily, since I have, well, not lucky, but I have experience in having a whole bunches of problems with guppies to internal parasites. So now I made all my guppy tanks bare bottom so they can easily be vacuumed out. And so I'm not real worried right now, but I wanted to catch it before it caused a problem. So, and I know Prazi Pro, like I said, I got all these new fish. I had no problems before I got the new fish. I got all these new fish. Gave them 2 rounds of this, and then I've had these fish for a little over 2 months now, 2.5 months. I've been giving them every 3 or 4 weeks. A maintenance, just in case it is a Prazi Pro. But Prazi Pro is a very gentle, safe medication. And for some things, Prazi Pro doesn't kill, but if you use it in conjunction with something that is much harsher and stronger, it needs to be used with the utmost caution with Levamisole. Because I don't think Prazi Pro, I don't think you can even, they show no ill effects. Now, the last time when I tried doing Levamisole, there's definitely some problems with the shrimp, namely. The guppies are, and that doesn't, I don't think you can really You'd have to way overdose to hurt the guppies. But I did a whole bunch of research. Found a whole bunch of things on this. I know this video is probably going to turn out to be crap, because I suck at making these kinds of videos. Because I know how to do it in my brain, but I'm not real good at explaining it. But I want to do my best. So this is how to treat guppies, well, any tank, with Levamisole. I'll show you what I've come up with. So these are the tools we've got here. The actual Levamisole that I've been using. And notice, it is very important here. It is a 52-gram package of Levamisole HCl. But it's very important to note, each packet contains 46.8 grams of Levamisole hydrochloride activity. So what that means is pretty much exactly 10% of this is inert ingredients, filler, some kind of probably anti-caking agent or something. I don't know, but I am guessing that's what it is. So then, when we measure this out, we want to add 10% to that. So what I've done is I have found an online calculator, which I will provide a link to that. And it will tell us exactly, you put in this calculator, you tell them the parts per million that you want to get at, which is, that's another part I need to talk about, is the therapeutic dosage, the amount you want to reach. I've read anywhere from 2 to 13 parts per million. And I know I've tried higher doses earlier before, like a year ago. I even have a video, I made a little video about it, and yeah, that was way too much, and it was too late back then anyway. My fish were too far in bad shape before I finally realized I needed to do something about it. So what I've done is I've gone to 2 parts per million. I've read enough to convince me that at 2 parts per million, you're doing as much damage as you can do. I mean, if you go more, you're just wasting the stuff and putting your fish and shrimp and other critters in your tank at risk. So then, okay, so we talked about that. So that means, since this is only 90% active Levamisole HCl, then we need to add 10%. So in the calculator, you put in the parts per million that you want, and instead of 2, I put 2.2 to make sure, to account for the extra inert ingredient in this. This is prohibit sheep and goats and cows. It's like 25 or 26 bucks on Amazon. And then what we have here, I make a stock solution. So this is a 32 ounce. I used an old hydrogen peroxide bottle because Levamisole is light sensitive, and if you want to store this, I store it in the refrigerator in a darkened out container like this, 32 ounce container. Now mind you, this is only going to work if you get a different kind of Levamisole that is not exactly 90% active ingredient. Maybe if you get more pure, this will not work. But this is exactly what I've done with Prohibit. And I bought myself a pretty decent set of scales. These are milligram scales, and they're supposed to be accurate to 5 milligrams. Not super cheap, but to be dosing, to have all these guppies that I've got, and to be dosing medications, we need to do that. The box that come in, nice little box. AWS, it goes up to 20 grams. 20 gram scale. And so the calculator, what I've done, I've put in all the information I needed. And it's pretty much self-explanatory. I'll share the link to the calculator. Now the ideal target, if you get pure Levamisole HCl, you want to do 2 parts per million. Now, but since I said this is 10% of something else, I did 2.2 parts per million in the calculator, since this is what I'm going to be measuring out. And I have it all measured out to be, worked it out so that for every milliliter you dose, you treat 1 gallon. So, in a 20-gallon tank, which is what most of my guppy tanks are, I put 20 milliliters, and I have these syringes. They're catheter syringes. 20 milliliters for 20 gallons. And I have 75-gallon tanks. So it's full 60, then another 15, 40-gallon tanks. I mean, I made it that way, so it's pretty easy to keep track of. So what it comes out to be prohibit Levamisole HCl and 32 ounces of water. It takes 8.881 grams to do that. I mean, you get to 9, I think you're probably going to be alright. But I try to do 8.8 or 8.9. So, let's see what we end up. I'll show you the process here. Alright, so now we have our little scale deal here. A little milligram scale. We fire up. Hopefully you guys can see that. And I have a little Pepto-Bismol cup. Then we hit the tare button to zero that out. And now we're going to try to measure out 8.81 grams. And this stuff is, let's see what we end up with here. There's 4. And I find I can treat all my tanks. One of these, this is the second batch I've made. And I can treat, and there's 8. Oh. 9.1, so we'll take a little bit out. Yeah, there we go. We were looking for 8.881. We got, we're golden. That's pretty freaking sweet. So then, we've got to get, we are good. There. Measuring part is over. Now we got to get our Levamisole. I can treat all my guppy tanks, which is, let's see, 10, 14, 15, 20-gallon guppy tanks twice with one of these. So what you do when you actually got to dose it, well, we'll get to that next. So then we got to get, let's see if I can get this a little better here. What have we got going on? Okay. So get that in there. There's a little warranty card. Folded in half. Looks like I'm playing with illegal substances. But I'm just... Actually, I had someone years ago when I used to do high-tech planet tanks. And they saw bags and bags of white powder in the freezer. She come in there, and at the time I'd worked for myself as a freelance web developer at that time. And she come in there horrified, like, I didn't see anything. I never saw a thing. I was like, what are you talking about? Well, I know you don't have a normal job. I didn't know you was that kind of a thing. I was like, what kind of a thing are you even talking about? She said, the bags of white powder in the freezer. She thought I was some kind of a cocaine drug dealer. So, no. I'm just a fish tank nerd. I'm not a drug dealer. Now I got drug dealer skills and measuring out white powder. Good grief. Okay, and when you're done with this, you want to make sure you rinse everything off. Wash your hands when you're done with this. So now we have the 8.881 grams of Levamisole hydrochloride in here of the Prohibit. The 90% active Levamisole HCl product. And so I've dosed enough in here, and this mixture, once filled with water, it'll make a mixture that will be 1 milliliter per gallon of water, just like I explained before. And so 20 gallon tank gets 20 milliliters, 40 gallon tank gets 40 milliliters, and make it as easy as it can possibly get. So then after I fill it up with water, mix it up real good, I fill this cup halfway up and go through like so, suck it out, make sure the measurement's right, get down to that, 20 milliliters, like so. Then you go to the tank, squirt it in there. So, I mean, that part of it, I'm not going to get the whole, they're not ready for a dose right now. But they say you want to do a water change before. I don't quite grasp the concept of needing to do a water change before you dose. But you definitely want to do a water change at least 24 hours after you dose. So what I've done, I dosed, waited 24 hours, did a water change. Dosed again the next, well, I think it's only like 18 hours to be honest, but it is a dose, do a water change the next day, dose, do a water change the next day. I think what I'm going to start doing is I've done 2 rounds initially, and I always do my water changes on Friday. So I think for the next 2 or 3 weeks, they say that due to the life cycle, you need to treat and vacuum it. That's why all my tanks are bare bottom, so I can vacuum them clean. And what you need to do, well, let's see, I lost my line of thought. My line of thought there, okay. So I am not doing a water change before. I'm not sure why they say that, but most people suggest do water change before, but I've not been doing that. I've been dosing, then the next day I do a water change, and then right after the water change is done, dose again, and then I'm going to do another water change. That's initially. But I think for the next, due to the life cycle of certain nematodes and parasitic worms that we are trying to deal with, I'm gonna do another dose. I think I'm gonna do it every Thursday for the next next 3 weeks. So I'm gonna be getting treated 4 weeks. Probably treat until this packet of Levamisole runs out. Once a week after this initial, or I'm gonna do it twice this initial week. So then I think that'll do is pretty good. And what this doesn't knock out, the Prazi Pro will. And I'm fairly confident that I've got it right this time. My video a year ago was not very good. This went into lots of research went into figuring this out, and I'm gonna give a link to the literature, the main literature I was reading that it describes. It's pretty good scientific stuff if you like that kind of stuff. If you're not into the scientific mumbo jumbo, then just take my word for it. But I'll provide a link to the big long article paper I read about Levamisole and the dosing requirements, and then another one. Then I'll post a link to the calculator too. It'll all be in the description. So hopefully this will help someone. The main thing is, as soon as you see the very first signs of it, is take care of it. I've done everything I was supposed to do with Prazi Pro and the antibiotics when I got these fish. The Prazi Pro doesn't kill everything. And I think from now on, there's going to be once a month, they're going to get a maintenance round of this, of the Levamisole, and once a month a maintenance round of the Prazi Pro. Just to, because I don't think you ever really get rid of them. I think you just keep them in bay. Some of these parasites these guppies have. That's just my opinion. Right or wrong, I'm not sure. But that's the way I feel about it. Anyway, you guys, hopefully someone got some use out of this. Thank you.